So just give me a countdown, 3, 2, 1, then I'll start.
3, 2, 1,
Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of India. No arguments there. That would make commercial real estate at a constant boom in Bangalore.
Bangalore is number 1 in terms of absorption of office space. It is number 2 in terms of office stock, only after Tokyo. So it's more than Singapore, Dubai, Beijing, Seoul. Like earlier, you remember there used to be a joke that if an American picks up a phone call, or rather answers a phone call about some customer service, chances are it is from a call center in Bangalore.
It's almost like Bangalore kind of is very good at catching on to the next big tech opportunity.
Bangalore as a city has reinvented itself. Reinvented as in how many times people have written obituary about Bangalore saying IT story is over.
We see a lot of stuck projects. In spite of RERA and various regulations and checks that we have, projects still get stuck. Even in today's time, there are some developers who are intentionally doing that.
Development plan or a master plan which was written in 2007 as a future document,
Right.
which was mildly amended in 2015, and now we are in 2026. So we are governed by or guided by such an old master plan.
Right. How do I, as a home buyer, find out whether the developer is using his funds for the project, my advances, or a bank loan? Hi, very good morning, people. Today, I have a very special guest with me on the Real Estate Show with Mayank, and I'm super excited because today's guest has looked at real estate from a very professional lens, which, real estate is heavily driven by promoters today. But however, there are a few professionals, such as Sunil Pareek, the executive director at Assetz, who've managed to scale a company in a very professional manner. Right, so we get to learn everything there is to learn about Bangalore real estate through him today. Thank you so much for taking out your time and imparting us with knowledge today.
Thank you, Mayank. I've been looking forward to be on your show, and thanks for the privilege of being on your show.
I mean, we love to have bright minds like you, and I think the idea of this show was just to impart knowledge to whoever wanting to get into real estate and also the home buyers so that they can take informed decisions. And I think who better than professionals actually doing the real work, seeing you've seen so many real estate cycles, from land acquisition to the approval process to the construction, design, sales, post sales. There are so many variables to real estate. So absolute privilege to have you on our show.
Certainly, I think last 20 years, whatever bit I have learned, and it's an ongoing process, would be happy to share.
We'll try to do that all, whatever we learned in 20 years in 2 hours. I don't want to be difficult, but super excited, right? So Sunil, can you tell me first and first, this is a beautiful, I just love this setting, right? And I think I'm already getting a flavor of Bangalore residential, with this open space. Can you tell me how Bangalore give me something about the Bangalore residential real estate market?
See, Mayank, I think the residential market in the organized form as we see today,
right,
is relatively young in Bangalore, maybe 25 years old. And 25 years is a young time, is a small time.
It is young.
It was late 90s and the early 2000s, where the market typically started. Before that, in fact, government was the biggest developer. So they developed plotted layouts or some of these flats for citizens and sold it to them, and people built their own homes on them. It was only late 90s that in a bigger scale, developers entered, starting developing and selling houses as a ready product. And Bangalore's residential real estate market has always followed the trajectory of the services sector. So what I mean by services sector is Bangalore is not a predominantly manufacturing driven base. Of course, there are aerospace, there is some manufacturing, there is biotech happening. In fact, Bangalore is the biotech hub of India. But chunk of the activities or economic drivers are around services. What started in the late 90s as BPOs and call centers and processing, it has gone through multiple cycles, multiple cycles of stress. Through the dot-com bubbles, through GFCs, through liquidity crisis, COVID, and it has shaped the way services sector has shaped. In fact, we'll spend some time on it later if our discussion navigate there. But how services quality changed, value changed, scale changed, the residential demand profile also changed. So now, to give a quick perspective of where we stand, like a bird's eye view, last decade, Bangalore used to sell 25,000 units or 30,000 units in a year, right? And the average sizes used to be around 1,300, 1,400 square feet, and average price about 5,500 rupees a square feet. So that puts the entire Bangalore market size at some 25,000 crores, right? Post-COVID, the market size has increased. Now it is almost 65,000 units, a big jump. The average prices have gone up 9 to 10,000 rupees a square feet, and the average sizes have also gone up from what used to be 1,300, 1,350. Now it is more like 1,700, 1,750. And simple mathematics, the size of the market is now 90,000 to 1 lakh crore.
So what was 4x?
Almost like a 3.5 to 4x increase in the market size. Of course, adjust to inflation, etc., etc. Still is a significant jump, which has followed the trajectory of the services space. Now, for someone to understand how did it grow, like organically, city can't grow at that pace, right? It is again driven by service, and easiest way to understand how services is impacting the city is to look at the lead indicator. For us, the lead indicator for residential demand is office space, right? So Bangalore's office stock today is almost 280 million square feet. It's highest in,
and this is grade A stock.
This is grade A stock, right? And it is, and chunk of the stock in Bangalore is grade A, again, because of the kind of tenants and the kind of quality product they expect that you have to build grade A. And that's the kind of work that is happening here. So every 1,000 square feet which you lease converts into a demand for 6 to 7 houses. That's a broad thumb rule. I mean, it's not like it's weirdly, it fits out. And if you do the mathematics also, 280 million square feet, take this 1,000 and 6-7 demand, you'll realize 25-30 lakh home would have been the demand. Some of them already fructified, some will fructify over a period of time. So that is converting into a demand for residential spaces. Now, who are the buyers, right? Typically in Bangalore, the buyers are anywhere between the age group of 20 to 45. And if you do a demographic split of the buyers, almost Bangalore's population, 60% is in the age group of 18 and 45. And who are they? They are millennials. They are these early stage Gen Zs who are either buying or influencing the buying decisions. They're all working or they're having a startup and maybe running their own sort of show. But chunk of the demand is coming from the working or the tech workforce in Bangalore. They take housing loans. In fact, Bangalore is the only market, I feel, where the number of people who take housing loan is the highest in terms of ratio. Maybe around 80-85% of people are taking housing loan. That shows it's an end user demand. They're buying it either for living there or for renting it out from an investment purpose. The flipping culture is very less in Bangalore, which is more true in the...
It's also more stable, that means.
It's very stable, end user driven, very resilient.
Unlike our North Indian brother Gurgaon.
Right. So one may always argue price increased, so there would have been speculation. So it's another reason why prices increased. But it's a very stable end user driven sort of a market. Now, who does the supply of this residential inventory? Because without the suppliers, it's the developers. Now that market has also gone through a significant shift as massive consolidation has happened for good. So to simplify it, last decade we had about 800 developers who were active. They did the sales of 25,000 units. And in that, if you do a little bit of segmentation of the market chart, top 10, top 12 only sold 15-20% of the stock. Now, post-COVID, maybe if you take 2025 as an example, we may have only 200 active developers.
So the number of developers has reduced.
That is sort of the consolidation that has happened. And the top 10 to top 12 are almost doing 50 to 60% of the sales and supply in the market.
Right.
So that is a major consolidation. And that's happening because of innate nature of Bangalore. which is generally more formal, more organized, more aware, well-governed, kind of institutional, even in the residential space, right from the early days. So where you used to hear about scams and scandals in other parts of India, Bangalore, it was less of scams, more of whether quality will match up, whether it will deliver on time. So the problems were different.
Right.
And now with this more institutionalization happening, almost 60% of the market is relatively well-governed, no platform sort of driven business. So net, I would say for anyone hearing this on the Bangalore residential real estate market, it's a very stable market, end-user driven market, very resilient. It has stayed resilient through all the 5-6 cycles which we have seen in this 25-year journey. And 1.5 to 3 crores typical ticket sizes, tech workforce, very well designed homes, which is responding to the need of the home buyers. That's probably the Bangalore market for you.
You spoke about the average age, right, of a home buyer in Bangalore. Has that reduced compared to the last 20 years?
It has for 2 reasons. One is income generation, wealth generation is happening much earlier. So therefore the spend is happening. And second, it follows a demographic profile. So every city, every country, every continent has its own trajectory of how the aging is happening. So in Bangalore today, it's the 20 to 45 age group, which forms almost 50% of the population. But the prediction for 2030 is this number may become 60. So 60% means much younger workforce earlier in the day will start buying homes.
Yeah.
And that's a big cue for many people who are designing apartments also.
Yeah, I think data always kind of surprises us, right? Because as a layman who's not in real estate, of course, we are well versed with the data. But for a layman, they often think since real estate has gotten expensive, they would assume that the age bracket has also gotten older. But it's actually the reverse.
No, it is the reverse. And it is a reflection of wealth generation in the city happening. The kind of work that is happening in Bangalore has shifted over a period of time.
Right.
If you look at 2000 to 2005, post.com and before global financial crisis, when post global financial crisis and before say 2015 period, and then the entire demonetization and liquidity crisis that happened till COVID and post-COVID, Bangalore as a city has reinvented itself. Reinvented as in how many times people have written obituary about Bangalore saying IT story is over. Initially it was Y2K. They said, okay, once you solve Y2K problem, why do you need so many people? Then later after GFC, they said, oh, people will have gone bust. I mean, they'll not outsource. Bangalore is an outsourcing hub. Vendor contracts will get over. What will happen? Later in the day came in COVID. Even before that, outsourcing was reducing because the salaries were increasing in India. They said if India is not competitive, it loses its edge. And Bangalore is in the nerve center of all these activities. But city is reinvented and
very resilient.
Very resilient. So from call centers to, let's say, BPOs, it moved to long-term vendor contracts. Then it moved to offshore development centers, to consulting, to SaaS, to cloud, AI, and now GCCs. Right. So the evolution is phenomenal, and along with that, people are making more money. So it's kind of got reclassified. Wealth creation has gone up, and startup ecosystem is fabulous.
Right.
There are at least 10-15,000 startups in Bangalore. 40% of unicorns of India are in Bangalore.
No, just speaking of that, right? Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of India. Right. No arguments there. And of course, that would make commercial real estate at a constant boom in Bangalore. Can I assume that commercial real estate is just doing very well in Bangalore because of this?
You pinpointed. And number one, Silicon Valley, I think this term has been associated with Bangalore from 90s. And I think it's a matter of time it should be changed to global innovation hub. And why I say that? Okay, number one, Silicon Valley, of course, is reality, and it's not just like a nickname given. I mean, you look at the city skyline, commercial office spaces, you know why it is called Silicon Valley. In Bangalore, is number one in terms of absorption of office stock in entire Asia Pacific.
My God.
So, and just for benefit, what is Asia Pacific? 60% of population resides in Asia Pacific. 40% of land mass of this globe is on Asia Pacific. And Bangalore is number one in terms of absorption of office space. It is number two in terms of office stock.
Wow.
Only after Tokyo. So it's more than Singapore, Dubai, Beijing, Seoul. Like, name the big centers in Asia Pacific. Bangalore stock is more than that. And just for academic interest, I try to convert how much stock, global stock, is Bangalore holding. Okay, data varied, but according to me, that number somewhere came out around 1.5 to 2% of global office stock is in Bangalore. 2%. That sounds small, but it is huge for such a big global asset. It's huge, right? So there is already a critical mass which is established, and not that it happened in spurts. It's been happening organically. Every year, on an average, 10 to 15 million square feet is getting added. That's why in 20 years, you'll see we are sitting at 300 plus million.
Right.
Now, I also said that Bangalore has been reinventing itself. So, to understand the profile of commercial real estate, you'll have to understand who the tenants are. Right? Once you understand tenant, you'll be able to say what the trajectory is. So, almost 30% of the stock is held by the classic IT companies. You've got Infosys, Wipro, TCS.
So grade A, like, or dare I say grade A plus?
They are A plus Indian consulting, and also some of the global giants like Accenture.
Right.
They are providing services, being vendors or consulting large private corporations or even government bodies across the globe and in India. They are the backbone, they are the nerve center. They are the one who have reinvented themselves over a period of time. And the kind of work that is now happening is way above the value chain what was there 5-10 years back. So that is one big tenant for you. So now the second tenant is the GCC, the Global Capability Center.
Right.
Now the GCCs are of recent phenomenon, maybe last 6 to 7 years, in the scale at which they are operating. In some form or the other, earlier we used to have this ODCs, right, offshore development centers.
Right.
But GCCs are much more evolved. GCCs are almost like the brain work of Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies are happening in Bangalore.
Right.
Many don't understand the importance or significance of it. GCC is not IT. Let me be very clear. IT is one of the dominant function for GCCs, but they are helping to do R&D, product innovation for the globe. Like earlier, you remember there used to be a joke that if an American picks up a phone call, or rather answers a phone call about some customer service, chances are it is from a call center in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Right. Now the thing is, if you see a global bank has launched a new AI product in their banking app, good chances it is done in Bangalore or Hyderabad.
Oh, okay.
So that is how we have moved up, and that's the reason why wealth creation, etc., is happening. So these GCCs are clients which require top-notch office space. Their expectation of the quality is very high. You just can't give a grade B building to them. So that is driving a new wave of quality buildings in Bangalore, and almost 30% stock is held by them.
It's almost like Bangalore kind of is very good at catching on to the next big tech opportunity.
You're absolutely right, and that's because of industry, education, R&D sort of.
It's very dynamic service industry, I would say.
It is. And education plays a big role here. Bangalore has 200 plus tech colleges. While India supplies 30% of the STEM workforce of the globe, I think 30-40% of that is coming from Bangalore.
Wow.
And nearby areas, and therefore migration happens, and people who study and come in through. So education and R&D is the backbone for any industry to grow. I mean, why Europe has grown or US has grown is because the education sector is very strong there. So from a tech workforce, education sector is good, therefore it is able to catch on early. There are links with the US market, which is the hub of tech activities. The knowledge gets transferred, etc., etc. So that leads to Bangalore taking the curve well ahead, and maybe other cities will slowly start following it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty commendable for a city to do it for so many years, right? Coming to real estate, right? Can you tell me, specific to Bangalore, what is the most difficult part about real estate in Bangalore? Is it land acquisition? Is it funding? Is it approvals? Is it construction? Or is it sales?
I think I don't have to, I have no doubt, land acquisition is the most challenging and the most critical and the most emotional part of a real estate cycle. In fact, land acquisition is one function which works invisibly, but has a significant impact on the fortune of the developer for the next 5-10 years.
Right.
See, you mentioned other functions like sales. Sales should not be even in the list.
Right.
If your product is good, your intent is gold. Sales will happen. That's given. But the intent and product has to be right. Funding, again, if your governance is right, track record is good, project viability is there, funding will happen. Funding, I don't think is a challenge at all. Construction, to some extent, there are external factors which may influence it. But once you put in processes, system, discipline, construction will happen. The external variables are limited, but you have to control them. It will happen. Approvals could have given a little bit of fight to...
Number two, you would say approvals?
Number two, yes, approvals. Because of the uncertainty, the maze, the clarity, the ever-evolving regulations.
Interpretation of those regulations as well.
Interpretation, the timeline it takes. But still, it is out there. It is given, right? These are the 20 approvals you need to get. Sooner or later, timeline is not in our control, but otherwise, you at least you're aware of what to look out for, and these are the checks. And finally, you have hit the pole post. But the boss of all is land acquisition, right?
Well,
land acquisition, why I say that, okay? In context like Bangalore, if you look at 100 lands, let's say you get leads of 100 lands, good chances that you will end up converting 1 or 2 out of them into a transaction.
You shot the bullseye.
So, and the timeline it takes?
Yeah.
Anywhere between 9 months to 18 months. So, you hear about a land, 12 months later, probably you may end up doing a transaction, that to 1 in 100. So, it's sort of the unwritten 1% rule that happens. Very difficult for you to hit that golden trinity, that you need to get the right location, the right partner, the right terms, in a market where the landowner has his own set of emotions, egos, finding a partnership, multiple competitions, litigations. I mean, it's a subject in itself.
Right.
So yes, undoubtedly, land acquisition is the boss when it comes to being one of the toughest and the most critical aspect among various functions.
Right. What is your system and process to acquire land? Do you have a certain SOP, like a checklist?
It's good to have. Good to have SOPs, good to have checklist, but land still surprises you. So you'll have to be a little more dynamic. So let me say there are these 5 filters, right? Through which land acquisition happens.
Right.
Availability.
Mm-hmm.
Second is saleability.
Right.
Third is developability. Fourth is viability. And fifth is marketability. Okay, and this, just to clear these 5 filters, it takes 12 months or 18 months.
Right.
So when I say availability is for you to know that a land is available, genuinely available, and there in the market, you need to get leads. And once you get leads, a lot of desktop study happens. Whether it is in the micro market you would prefer, whether it has got at least the basic approach road, whether the profile of the micro market is suitable or not. So almost 50% land gets filtered out there early on a desktop basis. So once that happens, you go to the next test of developability.
Right.
So what I mean by developability is trying to see if the land meets your regulatory requirements so that you can exploit or consume the FSI that is available in a regulatory fashion. A lot of work happens there. Site visits happen, visits to authorities happen, desktop happens, looking at a lot of bylaws, rule book, superimposing village maps and CDPs on the satellite images.
Right.
And Bangalore is notorious for lakes and drains and buff. So
you'll have setbacks from the...
You'll have setbacks, and rightfully so. Those laws and regulations are required to maintain the lakes and nala, especially given the water problem which we see. But for us, the work is to see after buffer, how much land is left you want to develop. In mind, there has been some times where we have got 5-acre land, which had a lake nearby, which had 2 drains, which had a cart track, which had certain rocks, which is classified as, we call it as kharab. Government, kharab land.
In Maharashtra, we call it as Port Kharab as well. Yeah. So,
And then you do a fitment of it after leaving necessary setbacks and setbacks around the lake and the nala. We realize we can't even consume 1 FSI on that land.
my God.
There was one more land similarly, there was like 7-8 acres that was between a valley zone, and the buffer took away a significant chunk of the land. That 1.5 was the FSI. So developability check is very important.
Right.
And this check is very important for you also to avoid any late stage surprises. So once we have done that, third comes your the test of viability. Okay, you like the land, then you meet the landowner. Number one, of course, for us, the chemistry with the landowner, the body language of the landowner, the intent of the landowner is important. Like how a landowner will judge whether I want to work with the developer. We also see whether we want to work with a landowner, especially in JD, JV, DM sort of arrangements. It's a arrangement for anywhere between 5 to 10 years. So you need to be sure that this is the counterparty you would want to work with. And then comes the most interesting part of the discussion, which is commercial negotiation. And the landowner also knows that if it is cross the check of availability and developability, he's got multiple options from various developers who are eyeing for similar or the same parcel of land. So it's the negotiation stage. And sometimes negotiation finishes in a couple of meetings. Sometimes it may take 3 months, over 5-6 meetings, and that's where you do a handshake and sign some sort of a documentation. Post that comes the most laborious work, which is establishing marketability of the land, which is your title diligence, title search. And unlike some cities, here, if I say a land of 20 acres, doesn't mean it is one land of 20 acres.
Right.
It means it may be divided into 10 sublands. It may be 30 sublands.
Right.
40 sublands sometimes. We've also seen lands where we got 5 acres, but it had 40 subdivisions.
Right.
Right. And then you are looking at due diligencing each of the block. Right. And we don't just look at the last 10 years or 20 years. We go from the origin.
Right.
So where it originated, how the flow has been. And it's normally 1920s, 30s and 40s.
Right.
That's where origination happens. That every time it has changed hands.
The mutation needs to be...
Mutation needs to be established. It was signed off by all the right parties, all the family members. If loans were taken, loans were discharged. It's a 6-month process, sometimes a 9-month process. And at the end of that process, finally we come and say, okay, this will be a marketable land. Let's move towards the documentation. And if it has taken a lot of time, commercials would have changed. The market would have changed. There could be a little bit of a renegotiation again.
Yeah. And this is the turnaround time.
Right. And that's where we go ahead and close a transaction. And as I said, the market has consolidated. There are 60% of the market is held by top 10, top 12 developers in the city. Normally, everyone follows this rigor of due diligence to make sure that you are able to pass on a marketable title. Despite that, some slip-ins can happen. I think 30%, 40% of launched projects in Bangalore may have some sort of a frivolous claim on it. It's become easy money for many.
Right.
And
so in that case, do you just go by the merits of it?
Yes. Okay. So number one, we would not want to sign up a land if there are any outstanding litigations. For sure, settle it. Even if it is frivolous, please settle it. But something comes up at a later date, look at the merit of it. And that's where the models like JD and DM comes into picture. The landowner is still with you. He knows his land better. He's able to settle those issues and dispute more efficiently than we are able to do it. The idea is not to have outstanding litigations in the project. Settle them if at all there is any. But nothing material comes after a thorough due diligence has happened. Frivolous claims may happen. Someone wants to make a quick buck. And normally it happens right before you launch or right before you have to apply for OC, occupancy certificate. So it's become a routine. I think things get...
What are the common land scams in Bangalore?
See, Mike, I don't think land scams at a scale which is noteworthy happens here. Maximum, what I see is fabrication of documents to establish the flow, right? Sometime, and we are able to see through it, read through it. Now, I'll give you a very funny example where one of the land aggregator brings a certificate from Hoskote Planning Authority, which was issued, I think, some 1990 or something. Looked very good. Looked like as if it's an old document. And little more deep diving, we realized the name had changed from Hosakote to Hoskote.
Okay.
So, while there's always people leave some tray.
Yeah.
So instead of writing Hosakote, he wrote Hoskote.
My God.
And that's where we sort of picked it up. So some fabrication of documents does happen, and we have to be vigilant about it. Else, they're not scams per se. There may be certain boundary issues, boundary disputes that the land should have been 5 feet away.
And it turns out.
But those are some things which you can correct.
Right.
And we always tell the landowners to be transparent about those issues upfront so that we can solve it. Everything is something which is solvable. You have to apply for a government survey or do the marking, reclaim it. If you have to settle your neighbor, please settle him. But set it right rather than sweeping it under the carpet, because someday it will come to bite you.
Absolutely.
So those suppression of certain facts, revenue matters, certain documents, those are the bigger problems here. Unlike how Bollywood or pop culture has shown land scams as,
Right.
I don't see much of them happening here.
Now, so you acquired land in Bangalore, right? From the time you acquired that land, from the land acquisition time to the time, how much time does it take? How much time does it take from acquiring the land to the RERA number? How long does that take?
So, if land acquisition is big difficulty, you filter through, take your time and acquire the land. Approvals is another maze, right?
You said it was the second most difficult.
Second most difficult. It almost is like a hurdle race, but which will feel like a marathon.
Yeah.
So imagine a marathon of hurdle races. So single window, honestly, is still not happening. It'll be,
I think.
so if there are 25 approvals, there are 25 windows. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, so if you follow the bylaws, if you are able to, submit, sequence the activities correctly, it takes anywhere between 9 months to 12 months before you get your RERA number.
Right.
So that's average timeline for a project which normally a bigger developer develops, like a 10, 20, 30 acre project. If the project is smaller, say 2 acre, 3 acre, may happen in 6 to 7 months also, because a couple of approvals are less compared to the larger projects. But I'm restricting the discussion here to the larger one, 10 acre, 20 acre, 30 acre sort of project. So there are easily 25 approvals.
Out of these 25, what is the most painful approval here to get in Bangalore?
I think it's I would say most critical rather than painful is if you're able to get development plan approval. So anything which is horizontal, like approving the master plan.
Right.
I think you're through with 50-60% of the heavy lifting.
Right.
Followed by environment. So environment and development plan put together, you've done 60-70% of your job. And then of course there are multiple NOCs, height, fire, airport, groundwater, and so those come through if you have to just follow a process.
Right. You see the single window clearance ever happening in India? As
I'm eternal hopeful. Maybe before I retire.
your guess is as good as mine, to be honest.
So it's good to have. It'll really change the way we function. But I don't see single window as a practicality, especially given how organically the country has developed, cities have developed. Between planning authorities, there are ambiguity on who's handling what. That level of communication. Maybe someday tech deployment may ease it.
Yeah.
But I think it will take some time before tech reaches
the hands
to
of
make it a single window.
Right. Also, can you break down the various zones across Bangalore, the land zones basically, and how is Bangalore planned by the planning authorities in general, and the FSI, the broad range of FSI throughout Bangalore?
This is good because there's a question sometimes even people in the industry ends up asking. I'll try to simplify it.
Right.
Okay, now imagine one circle of say about 700 square kilometers.
Right.
That is GBA for you, the Greater Bangalore Authority, which along with its 5 sub-corporations is the jurisdiction authority which takes care of this region largely. Outside that, you create a donut sort of a structure of another 350 square kilometers. So that area comes under the jurisdiction of BDA, Bangalore Development Authority. And Bangalore Development Authority also has an additional task that they are the developers on behalf of government. Right. So all the major infrastructure projects, any plotted layout projects, all are done by BDA. But purely from a planning perspective, outside this 1,000 square kilometer circle is another 1,000-2,000 square kilometer, which is handled by BMRDA. It's called Bangalore Metropolitan Regional Development Authority, which again has some 6-7 sub-planning authorities below that. And these are the satellite towns, largely green belts where growth is now happening. So if you can say like if GBA, BDA are handling density, BMRDA is happening the future, handling the future expansion. So BMRDA will be too much to cover, but let's focus on the GBA and BDA sort of the area. That is guided by one vision document, and that is called CDP, the Comprehensive Development Plan, and also loosely referred to as master plan or a revised master plan. I'm about to say something which is a little unfortunate for a city of this scale and size, all the good things we spoke about the city, that Bangalore is still following a development plan or a master plan which was written in 2007 as a future document,
Right.
which was mildly amended in 2015, and now we are in 2026. So we are governed by or guided by such an old master plan.
Right.
Not that government didn't try to come out with a new CDP in between, but there were a lot of public outcry. There were a lot of pushbacks on changing of the zoning, etc. That it was kept on hold. What I hear now is GBA is now trying to work on 2041 master plan.
Right.
But honestly, we don't know when that will come up. Master plans are very important for a city because what does a CDP cover? Number one, it touches every square inch of the land, saying where what will happen. So you have broadly zones like residential zone, agricultural zone, commercial, institutional, transportation zones, then public amenities, institutional, civic spaces, valley zones, green zones. So every square inch of land is mapped by them in that fashion.
Right.
And it also gives the current roads and infrastructure, drains, etc., and how this infrastructure will pan out in the CDP period. Suppose if we today had a 2040 CDP, it would have shown till 2040 what is the plan of the government, what sort of roads it needs to develop, etc. So it is very important as a vision document for every city to have, and I hope Bangalore will get its new CDP soon. But till then we are governed by the old ones.
Right.
And a lot of tinkering keeps happening. For instance, now let's say it is zoned residential, you want to do commercial in that. There's a process of change of land use, there's a process of conversion that happens. But if there is a CDP, it rezones everything depending upon how the growth has happened. Development becomes related. CDP also covers something called development regulations.
Right.
Basically, that is a rule book, which you have to follow to build a home, build a project. So that's the one that prescribes how much you can build, which is FSI, and what height you can build. So those are the development regulations. And in Bangalore, unlike cities like Hyderabad, and the FSIs are pretty limited and restricted.
Right.
So 1.75 to 3.25, that is a range, depending upon the road width.
Right.
If your road width is 9 meter,
Right.
it's 1.75. If your road width is about 12 meter, it's 2.25. Likewise, it keeps going. And if your road width is almost 30 meter and above, You don't have many roads.
Yeah.
A 30-meter one, there it is 3.25. So that way it controls the density of the development in any region.
Right. So 3.25 is the maximum.
3.25 is the maximum. Now, good chances, matter of time. Some debates are happening at judicial level on allowing premium FSI and TDR.
Right.
Where someone will be able to purchase and load up another 60% on top
Right.
of it. So a 3.25 can go up to 5.2. At 2.25, again, load up another 60%. It can go up to something like a 3.5.
Right. Interesting. We often see a 20% price gap between a local developer
Right.
and a grade A developer.
Right.
Do you think that 20% price gap is justified, or is the home buyer, this is specific to Bangalore,
Right.
or is a home buyer just paying that additional 20% for a fancy logo?
I think it's 100% absolutely premium is justified. Now the premium is 10%, 20 or 30, it depends.
Right.
Depends on the micro market. It's you can call it like an insurance premium you're paying for peace of mind. Peace of mind for what? Number one, let me call him tier 1 developer rather than just a listed developer. A tier 1 developer has all the resources to employ the right people and the right contractors. So if you have well-paid employees, competent employees and a competent contractor, your project will finish on time and also of certain desired quality. Some specs may be there, but of certain desired quality compared to the tier 2 and tier 3 and what kind of contractor they employ and what kind of project monitoring they are able to do. Second, a tier 1 developer normally will not go all out to clinch a land deal by giving certain unrealistic land terms.
Right.
Which happens in tier 2 and 3 because it's the speed and greed, right?
Right.
That for you to grow fast, I need to tie up land. If someone ties up land by paying more to the landowner, somewhere it will come and pinch you and hurt you.
Right.
Especially when the cycle slows down a bit. Third, cost of funding. It's while funding is available for many, funding is not available for many. Right? So will a big fund or a bank give loan to certain set of developers? Probably not. So they end up relying on high cost debt. And high cost debt eats into the margin. For some reason things slow, again it will come and start hitting them. And overall I would say intent here. The intent of 60% of the market, which is the top 10, 12 developers, is generally right to deliver what they have promised to the best of their abilities. So I think this sort of comfort that you'll get the desired quality, the project will finish for sure and largely in time, that is the premium you're paying, and hence a little bit of differences will be there, and product material specs also will be there. So anywhere between 15 to 30% difference. Not only just apartments, this difference I've seen also in plotted development. Someone may say plotted development is just land, right? Mm-hmm. That you cut it into pieces, land ka the value hai. So a place where a tier 1 developer is selling at say 8,000 rupees a square feet, in the same place, on the same road, you'll find tier 2 developers selling at 6,000 rupees a square feet, and it is land. Because now it is about not just land. The title of the land will be better because they would have done the gate check, they would have done the diligence, and second, the quality of infrastructure will be built for a decade and not 2 monsoons.
Right. Now, what is a profit margin that a developer in Bangalore kind of looks at? When does it start making sense? When is a project viable for you? At what profit margin does a project practically start becoming viable?
See, I think we look at 2 parameters. One is return, other is margin. And which anyone will do. Of course, even in your personal capacity also. When I say return is return on the equity you're put in.
Right.
And margin is margin on the sale price you're achieving in.
Right.
See, there's a general thumb rule. I think the best is to look at the listed players' stock and look at the margins they are making. Anywhere between 20 to 40% on the sale price is the margin.
Right.
And anywhere like a 25% per year return on equity is sort of a thumb rule that happens. What 25% return on equity means is in 3 years you're at least doubling your money.
Yeah.
But that is very interesting, the strategy of it. you put 100% of equity and try to do a project, and for you to hit a 25% return on equity is very difficult because your sale price has to be really high.
Yeah.
That's where two layers of leveraging happens. The capital stack sort of gets built up. Your equity, a private equity or a bank's equity, customer advances, and then a joint development where the landowner himself has given you sort of an indirect funding by doing a joint development.
Right.
All put together on your equity, then your return on equity goes up. So therefore, under a JDA model with some bank funding and good customer advances gives you the best return, and margins of anywhere between 20 and 30%.
Right. We'll obviously get to, I want to talk more about the JDA and VP model with you as well. But are there any type of projects that even give 100% profit margins for developers?
If you have any, please give it to me.
Any plotted land development projects that are giving that much?
No, you don't. You don't. Because market is very competitive. Landowners are very aware. Especially in the plotted market, I have seen landowners coming with calculations saying, sir, aap itna banaoge. So therefore, you should give me this return, or you should buy the land at this rate, or this is the ratio you should have. Just a 1 year project. He'll take the best of the assumption. He'll take the highest sale price. He'll take quickest sales. He'll take quickest execution. He'll take the lowest cost of construction, do some maths on our behalf and say, this is what he should pay. So, and goes for apartments and other products also. So therefore, the market is now very well aware. People know everyone's business model. There is nothing like trade secret.
Yeah.
It's a transparent model. So the pricing are fairly competitive.
Right.
So in a competitive pricing, doing 100% margin, I'm yet to see.
So you spoke of the best case assumptions, right? The best case scenarios that landlords come up with. Now let's talk about the worst case scenarios.
Okay.
And let's be prudent, right? We see a lot of projects. It's a truth. I'm going to just zoom out a bit, talk about India. We see a lot of stuck projects. In spite of RERA and various regulations and checks that we have, projects still get stuck. My question to you is, do you think even in today's time there are some developers who are intentionally doing that, which would then mean it's a scam because when you're intentionally doing it, or is it just mismanagement and just bad mathematics?
I think gone are the times where people did real estate project with the intention or a scheme or by design to stall the project and probably just divert the funds of the I think times have gone. Laws have become stricter. It'll catch up. Because once you do it, I think you're done. You're done. You can't do business again.
Right.
Can it be bad mathematics? Can it be circumstance? Can it be poor planning? Yes, certainly it is possible. The same point of speed and greed. There are the developers who start their first project, but they have the urge to start the second project soon. Where will they get funding from? Customer advances. So they start using the customer advances of the first project way before achieving a financial closure in that project and putting money in the second land, thinking that by the time actual money is required in the first project, they would have launched the second project and used some money, bring it back, take some money and try to do the third project. So that financial indiscipline is what I would call it. So the financial indiscipline has led to almost 60-70% of the mishaps which we have seen. And second is litigations on the land, which has stalled the project because they wanted to close a deal so quickly that they took certain calls which they shouldn't have taken. So they are, I would say, 80-90% of the reasons that...
So over leverage you're saying is the biggest. Over leverage mixed with financial jugglery and financial indiscipline.
Financial indiscipline. Leverage is never wrong.
Right.
In fact, I am of the view there should be some leverage in the project from a buyer's perspective.
Right.
And it should make buyer feel comfortable.
Right.
If some tier 2 developer says that I'm not taking any loan, I'm putting my equity and doing the project, sort of a red flag.
Right.
Why are you not taking loan?
Too comfortable then to complete the project? Would that be the red flag?
Red flag is maybe they're not getting loans. Red flag is savvy businessmen will never put 100% of
I agree.
Equity. And if the pedigree of the lender is good, that should give a comfort to the home buyer that the lender on their behalf is maintaining checks and balances into that project.
Right.
So leverage is never a problem. Of course, over leveraging is, but again, RBI has tightened the regulations. Over leveraging from banks is difficult, and all the private equities, AIFs, NBFCs, they have been very careful because we have gone through cycles. A lot of learning has happened. So over leveraging, I don't think will happen now in this market, but leverage is healthy.
Right. Now, speaking of leverage, right? How do I, as a home buyer, find out whether the developer is using his funds for the project, my advances, or a bank loan?
I think ask the developer straight away.
Right. And my follow-up question to that is, how do I know his, say I'm not talking to a listed developer, right? A local developer. How do I know about his actual financial strength and his balance sheets?
No, that's $1 million question. See, if it's a listed developer, of course, his numbers are available with some land, but at least available. But other unlisted players are either private limited company or they are LLPs.
Right.
And to get their financial statements is difficult. Few have tried to go to the MCA portal and download the financial. Honestly, that may confuse you more than give you clarity, because all projects are not done in the same company. Right. Their holding structures may be different. The number of SPVs they use to do the project may be different. The information may be pretty dated. So that may actually lead to certain loss of opportunities even from a home buyer's perspective. So MCA may not be the right answer. I guess the best way is to check out project by project. If you're investing in a particular project, look at the EC of a project, the encumbrance certificate.
Right.
So the encumbrance certificate will show up any loan that is marked on the project, and see who's the lender, the quality of the lender, and the volume of the amount. And today it's a no-brainer that if it's a 1 million square feet project, people can apply, say, 4,000 rupees all put together. About 400 crores is required for him to finish the project. What is the quantum of loan the developer has taken?
Right.
Is it 50 crore, 100 crore? Very healthy. If the project cost is 400 crore, has he taken a 400 crore loan? I mean, ask him why. So that could raise certain, concerns. And the RERA portal is a great wealth of information today.
Right.
So go to RERA portal, download quarterly performance report, download the annual report. Right. See the dashboard of the developer in terms of are there any RERA complaints filed. So that will also give you sort of an indication of how the project is progressing. See, there's a simple thumb rule. If the project has 10 lakh square feet, for instance, and if the developer has sold 3 lakh square feet, project more or less will achieve financial closure. Means he'll have enough money to construct the structure of the building. If he has sold, say, 1 lakh square feet, then the project is still at a risk. Then one has to see the momentum, the location of the project, whether he'll be able to sell and achieve the financial closure of it. So 30-35% project sold, kind of it goes on its own, provided there is financial discipline again.
Right.
So that depends on the nature of the
After a stage, the sales kind of funds itself.
Yes. So first equity, the most riskiest equity is the developer's equity.
Right.
That will get you to launch the project and kickstart construction. Second is some sort of a debt, which he takes from a bank, AIF, NBFC, some financial institution. That is there as a comfort to meet any technical mismatch in the cash flows. For instance, you would have spent more, but the collection is less. There's a collection, and that technical working capital mismatch may happen.
Right.
So to bridge that, there is a construction finance. And if there is a healthy sales pattern, I think the project will sail through, provided one should be comfortable about the intent of the developer. The idea is not to strip off money or divert the funds way early, and the margins are taken out at a later date.
You spoke of diverting funds. Do you think fund diversion is still common in real estate in spite of the RERA's 70% rule? Have you seen that happen?
See, RERA is a watershed moment for residential real estate. But RERA did not immediately or overnight change the ethics of the business.
Yeah.
But it did change the behavior. Because now the cost of bad behavior is very high. More so for these top 15 players who are controlling 60-65% of the sales. So I feel these 15 players are following the rules in spirit, give and take, without putting the project in sort of a financial danger. that the balance 40%, balance say 100, 150 developers, there are a few bad actors still, is what I hear. Honestly, I'm neither bought, neither I've interacted, but whatever little bit of hearsay I've seen, there are some still bad actors, but the elbow room for them to play around is reduced. What is elbow room? A CA certification of the amount they have spent.
Right.
That certification, if is more than what they have actually spent, allows them to withdraw the capital a little faster.
Right.
So that's the only play I'm seeing, unless they're using non-banking channels, which again has reduced significantly after demonetization.
Right.
So matter of time even that will get plugged. It's about deploying tech by RERA. If RERA increases its workforce, deploys certain technology to live monitor the progress of the project and integrates itself with the GST department, even that will get plugged. So it's less, I think, the sort of diversion of funds. I don't know if diversion is the right word, because it's their own money.
Right.
Just that they are taking it out of turn. They should be taking in the second year if they're taking in 6 months.
Right.
It's called the diversion. May be happening at a limited scale through over.
Definitely reduced since.
Reduced significantly. So to that extent, RERA is effective in bringing in some capital discipline, in making delays as a very conscious item. On the surface, delay is always a word which all the developers try to avoid, and capital discipline. These are the two, I would say, wins of RERA.
Right. Now we've seen the development management model, the DM model, gaining a lot of popularity, especially in areas where land is scarce, right? What is your take on the DM model? And if you can highlight me the pros and cons for the landlord here and for the developer here.
See, DM as a model, according to me, cannot be a business plan of a developer. It should be a very opportunistic, strategic tool. But before that, what is DM model? In simple terms, unlike a joint development or a land purchase, here the land remains in the balance sheet of the landowner. The developer will do everything he would have done as if he had purchased land, right from designing it, due diligences, approval process, RERA, launch, sales, construction, handover, post handover, as if it is a project where the land is bought by him. Just that the land will be in the balance sheet of the landowner. When you purchase land, the P&L, the profit and loss account, is that of the developer. You make any money, that is developer's money. You lose any money, that is developer's loss. In this case, the P&L belongs to the landowner. Developer is now providing a service, a development service under a development management agreement, a service of end-to-end development activity, including branding of the project. So as far as the buyers are concerned, it's the same. I mean, unless they see in the agreement to sell the name of the party who's signing the agreement to sell or sale deed is not Assetz or is not the name of the developer, it doesn't make any difference to them, because the developer does all the activities that is required to be done. But it is not meant for all. The developer system has to be geared to handle partnerships. It is not running your own show. Here you are working closely with the landowner. If someone is handling you are handling someone else's P&L, he would want an oversight.
Yeah.
Is your system ready to take those oversights? Let's say you purchase steel at X price. The landowner questions, why did he purchase at X price? Why not at Y? Let's do a bidding. Are you open to going through a bidding process and convincing him, or buy this particular landscape, including even why name this project in this fashion? Can't the name be in the other fashion?
Yeah.
Because he's a owner, it's his money, it's his landowner, it's his land. So he may have a lot of questions, a lot of oversights, checks and balances. The developer's system should be geared to handle those relationships, and not just at promoter level or a CEO level or at a project in charge level, at all levels, from sales to marketing to. So that is something which very few developers are geared up. Any developer, as a thumb rule, any developer who has worked with funds private equity funds, or be it large NBFCs who have handled capital and return money, I feel they'll be able to handle DM relationships better. Now, coming to why I said it is strategic tool and not a base business plan. Strategic tool is sometimes there may be regulatory constraints where you cannot do a joint development. For instance, in the KIDB hardware park, that is a big 3,000 acre zone in which a lot of residential land use has been marked and all prime tier 1 developers are present there. But KIDB has restricted in their documents of allotment that you cannot sell this land or you cannot do directly a joint development of the land. So now some people try to come out with ways of creating an LLP, 5149, etc., which I think KIDB will be okay with. But DM can be an alternative there. You cannot do joint development. Come, let's do a development management. We'll develop this project. Sometimes, let's say there is a larger project under a bigger DP approved. There are multiple asset classes. There's only one piece of land that is remaining in that larger DP. You don't have a separate khata for that. You cannot register a joint development. You can do a DM there. Or there is a landowner with a lot of lands and you want to build a relationship with him so that you can get future land bank. Can the first relationship be DM for a strategic reason? Yes, got it. So I think generally it's done more for strategic and tactical reasons than as a main business plan.
Is there a general thumb rule of the fixed fee that the developer would take?
So anywhere between 10 and 15%, depending upon the size, location, the profitability of the project. So anywhere between 10-15% of the sales value is the DM fees which a developer would charge.
Now I want to jump to JV and JD, the joint venture versus a joint development. Can you give our viewers the exact difference and the nuance between a JV and a JD?
See, for a developer, both JD and JV are methods of tying up land. Just that the alignment changes. So when you purchase a land, for instance, 100% of risks, revenue, profits are to the purchaser of the land. In joint development, the landowner is aligned at a revenue level. That means X percentage of the revenue is given to the landowner or X percentage of the area under a area share JD is given to the landowner. But in JV, the alignment is at a bottom line level.
Right.
That revenue less all the costs finally will lead to certain profit, and the profit is shared and not just the top line. So that's the primary difference between either buying a land or doing a JDA or doing a JV. It's a primary difference between these models at a alignment level. That one is top aligned, one is bottom aligned. But during negotiation, things change. See, in a joint development, the single parameter of discussion is what is the percentage ratio to the landowner. Within a given range, let's say if sale price in the market is 12,000 rupees, you know that anywhere between 33 and 36% you will give and take to the land transaction to the landowner. But JD, on a JV, there is a valuation of the land has to be done because the landowner will value his land and put it in a JV.
Right.
Developer matches a similar amount and then a project is carried out. Right. And I'm assuming this is a 50-50 JV or a 51-49 JV. A developer always would want to have 51% because he would also want to consolidate the turnover in his books, which is generally difficult in a 50-50 sort of a JV. So 51% investment. So valuation mismatch can lead to a lot of derailment in JV discussion. Sometimes I've also seen a model where a particular aggregator has signed JDs with the landowners in a SPV. And then he comes to a developer to do a JV. So it's like a JV on a JD.
On a JD, yeah.
Right? That is hyper leverage.
Yeah.
That first level is a land leverage where you've already done a leverage with the landowner by assuring him future square feet. Then the same aggregator comes and takes 50% of similar number, whatever he would have paid to the, and then share 50% of the profits. So in residential, those kind of models are a little more prevalent. In commercial projects, transfer of lands and the developer matching the amount with equal value of the land and then executing the project are more prevalent. But the issue doesn't happen just at the negotiation levels, during the execution levels. See, it's easy. Top line is fairly transparent that all the money is going to RERA account. Right. All the money comes in, a percentage share is given.
Right.
But what about profit? It's revenue minus cost.
Yeah.
Now, who's underwriting cost? What happens if cost escalation happens? Will the landowner treat you with full trust, whether he want a oversight, or he may not have an oversight and later feel the land costs have gone up too high, therefore his profits are less. So a little bit of structurally there could be a distrust between the parties, and then distrust may also lead to disputes. So simpler way is a landowner, the developer may underwrite as particular cost, saying chalo 4,000 rupees per square feet, underwrite. Anything above that, you don't have to worry. Right. But while underwriting that number, he will always keep a buffer, for some unforeseen events or escalations, or some losses may happen. So that may lead to a little lesser profit to the landowner. So that cost aspect, the trust, distrust sort of thing may lead to confusions in the JV in a long term. So therefore, JVs are not a very prevalent model in residential real estate, which has a finite life and which is very dynamic. Works well in a commercial project.
So what do you prefer? Do you have a preference between a JV or a JD at Assetz, or is it just more of an opportunity-based call that you take?
I think for us, any day go-to would be JD, a joint development model. It helps us with a leverage on the land cost. Rather than paying 100 for a land, you just can pay 10-15 deposit and start off a project.
Yeah.
In a way, the landowner is like your investor.
Right.
So rather than taking money from the investor and giving him returns, it's like you've taken the assumed value of the land of the landowner and giving him return. And as a thumb rule for a landowner, if he feels his land value is X, he'll end up realizing 2X of it over the project tenure. So he's also made a deemed return. Otherwise, he would have invested the same money elsewhere.
Right.
So that way. So it works well. Frictions are less. We have better control, smooth sailing. We are in the driver's seat. Periodic updates to landowner does happen, but not the kind of very involved execution in the project. JVs are very opportunist. If there is a great piece of land, titles are done, the aggregator has taken all the risks, he has already registered those land in the SPV,
Right.
and is also entrepreneurial to take certain bottom line calls. We may look at a JV, but that is, as I said, very, very opportunistic. And not every counterparty is also suitable for a JV, because JV requires a shareholders agreement, security subscription agreements, right? Board meeting, shareholders meeting. That is a totally different ballgame. We also need some sophistication with that.
Right.
So it will be very, very
It's actually business, like it would be. Yeah. Now, do you, by the way, have a favorite location to develop in Bangalore? Like one location, right? No diplomacy. If you had to choose one location that you are most bullish on in Bangalore for future growth, what would that location be?
So, I think number one, Bangalore itself overall is a great place. For you to have scale, you can't be too choosy about one location, right? So broadly, you can split Bangalore into about 9 macro markets, and each one, if further split, we have identified 50 micro markets in Bangalore. And if a developer is present in all 50 micro markets in Bangalore, maybe he can be a 10,000, 15,000 crore company.
Got it.
So therefore, if you want to scale up, you need presence all across. But if I had a favorite among these locations, purely from a capital appreciation perspective, I would peg on North Bangalore.
Got it. Proximity to the airport?
North Bangalore, more regions around airport, say about 5 kilometers before airport and another 5-10 kilometers ahead of the airport, because a lot of infrastructure growth is happening there. The economic corridors are being formed. Ring roads which are connecting to other parts of the city are getting formed there. And that's where we are seeing a lot of demand, action, and potential appreciation on the prices also. So that will be one of our go-to location. But for someone to invest, or if I was building a rental portfolio, for instance, then I would always go towards your established Sarjapur and Whitefield, because the prices, the ticket sizes are high there. Not everyone are able to afford buying homes, so they end up renting. So rental demand is high. The rental yields can be as high as 4.5% also in those markets, which is probably one micro market and gives you the highest in India.
Yeah.
So for a rental perspective, more so in Sarjapur, Whitefield, but from a growth capital market perspective, infrastructure driven, where fundamentals are really working and the area can transform in the next 5-10 years is North Bangalore.
Do you see a lull happening in Bangalore in the next 3 years? Overall looming lull in real estate?
No, not at all. Not at all. See, for us, the lead indicator is office space. And office space is because of the economic activities and the services which people or the companies here are providing.
Right.
GCC is today only 30% of the office stock, which according to me will increase to 40% of the stock. GCCs are paying higher salary compared to your normal IT. Now the entire H1B visa fiasco, if I can call it a fiasco that has happened there, someone did a comparison. For instance, Google can spend 1/8 of the money, pay rentals, pay salaries, versus just paying H1B fees there in US. So therefore, US sort of will start moving here into Bangalore. Right, the reverse brain drain may happen. GCCs may get much bigger, and they are already seeing that in the leasing. So 2025 leasing gross was 20 million plus, net was around 14-15 million square feet, highest in Asia Pacific. It's huge. And once leasing happens, next 3-4 years demand further picks up. 2026 and 2027's RFPs in the market for office space are very strong. So I think all indications are showing that employment generation will continue, and that will convert into demand for residential. Prices may not go up the way it went post-COVID. Post-COVID, there's been 50-60% price spike. I think prices will be more inflationary, which in a way helps, because some who find it difficult to afford a 2 crore ticket size today, matter of 2-3 years, the income will catch up to that ticket sizes. So I'm seeing very positive outlook for Bangalore.
I want to talk about the past, right? We can all make future projections and predictions. Obviously, real estate cycles are long, right? Super cycles, many people like to call them. Can you tell me the toughest time you guys went through, right? Because of a kind of a lull cycle that you've had in the past. What was the scariest moment for you guys?
So I'm sure you were expecting, I'll say, 2008 global financial crisis. That's true for the city, for the country, for the continent and the globe. But from a residential real estate perspective, I would not say 2008 cycle. I would draw your attention to 2016 to 2020. That tenor, more so in 2016, 17, even, right? I think the residential real estate was battered by series of reforms. I mean, it may sound contradictory. Reforms be battered be but I think a lot happened almost together at the same time. So it started with the ILFS crisis, which later turned into a widespread liquidity crisis for the industry. Lot of NBFCs slowing down, their mandates increasing. There was a time where I have seen some reputed developers planning how to retire their debt. At that time, the debt was among the highest. And even country went through a scenario where the NPAs were double digit. Now it is 1.5-2%, but the NPAs almost were like double digit. So money was an issue. Capital raise was a concern. People are just busy recovering money from the sales collection. Maybe it shows a lot of behaviors of the lender at that time. So while that IFS crisis, liquidity crisis was happening, gets introduced GST. Now GST is a great reform. The economy needed it, country needed it. But I guess rollout, anything great that happens, it takes some toll. I think 3 to 6 months, a lot of confusion, etc. was there. And a little later, news comes out that for residential real estate, input tax credit will not be available. Big blow. Imagine you've already signed up JDAs, your purchased lands, sitting on... and suddenly if input tax credit is not available, your cost of construction goes up by 600-700 rupees. And this was a time where sale price used to be 7,000 rupees. Your 10% margin is just wiped out. right? Of course, people spoke to landowners. Landowners cooperated and sharings changed, etc., etc. But that was a time of GST. When RERA got rolled out, RERA rolling out is watershed moment, as I said. It led to a lot of mindset changes. But in that entire confusion, transition, buyers waited. That is this project registered under RERA, not rated? What is my right and how it will happen? So before clarity came in, during the same time, it led to certain, I would say, muted growth. All this happens, you're trying to recover, demonetization. Again, demonetization hit real estate industry too. But what it hit most was the psychology of a home buyer. If you remember, 5 to 6 months, there was silence. It felt like, what's happening in the country? Why are things so slow? In the hindsight, that was one of the best thing government could have done.
Yeah.
But 5-6 months, there was silence. So these events happen, industry slowly processing, digesting, recovering, and COVID hits.
Right.
There was a time where there was no one on the street and who'll buy homes. And so I think that time from 2017 till 2020 onset, series of events that happened that had to slow down a lot of activities in the economy and more so in the sector. But people who stood through this time, post-COVID, who emerged stronger, having better balance sheets today, they have endured so much that I feel they're built for decades now.
And what, according to you, you spoke of, so I'll just quickly summarize the IFS crisis along with GST, RERA, demonetization, and of course COVID, right? A lot of reforms mixed with things that were unpredictable, right? A lot of uncertainties, right? Then obviously the market started picking up, which means more sales, which means more home buyers visiting the builders' offices.
Right.
So now tell me, what according to you, should a home buyer look in a developer before buying their project? Apart from the paperwork and the RERA and,
Say, I think 50% weightage is on the product, right? If one has to sustain the next decade and the changing preferences of the consumers, product has to be a focus. Product doesn't mean lavish specifications. Product means understanding the need of your buyer. So being more human-centric, right? Analyze the human behavior carefully. See how their mindsets are changing. See how family patterns are changing. How the morning is rushing in. How a weekend people are trying to unwind. How the hosting cultures are changing inside a house. How passions and hobbies are taking over. Passion for coffee or passion for photography or painting. So multiple things are happening in someone's life today compared to a decade back. How well you're able to accommodate that in a short space, right? You're given 5,000 square feet, of course you can plan everything. But to accommodate those things, say within a 2,000 square feet apartment, in a high efficiency so that it also makes a value buy, not everyone can crack it. So design is what I would say. And make your design suitable to a city. So Bangalore weather is so good, but it's not celebrated. The decks can be bigger. Indoor-outdoor exchange can happen through decks. For instance, at Assetz, decks are 150 to 200 square feet.
That's massive.
And they also are given with certain motorized blinds, which are heat-proof, wind and rain-proof. So you just pull those blinds down whenever you want. It becomes into sort of a indoor deck. You pull that up, it becomes an outdoor deck. So these are very small things, right? Be it master bedroom, right? Now, master bedroom should feel like a master's bedroom. But in a 2,000 square feet apartment, how you can give a space for a couch. You'll have to study the size of the bed, a walk-in wardrobe, study table, make him feel that he has earned this house. The foyer was never celebrated in India, and the arrival itself. You open the door, you straight away are into the living. Can the foyer be celebrated? Can it be made more welcoming? Can I also make a design in such a way that your living, kitchen, dining, and the deck can be seamless when required, and you can host 20 people in a 2,000 square feet apartment. Likewise, if you go outside the apartment from a master plan perspective, things are changing. You have, say, in an apartment of 2,000 units, roughly 8,000 people stay. Everyone gets one Swiggy order, one Amazon order, one e-commerce culture, right? What is happening in master plan from an e-commerce integration perspective? You can't have 6,000 check-ins and check-outs and crisscrossing from the main entry. How will your guest feel when he arrives and he sees 100 e-commerce? A lot of things can be done. Utilities can be done. Water recycling. How can you make water management as a topic itself in the master plan? How to make it energy efficient? Look at the facade. Why to paint your building? Why can't you clad your building? Painting a building is not healthy from a life cycle cost perspective. Imagine hosting scaffolding to paint every time, the cost of it, and how will the association take over? So now think through the product, how it will be after you handed it over to the association, the Resident Welfare Association, how the life cycle costing of your home can, because the upfront cost is only 60-70% of the cost. Balance 30-40% of the cost is spent in the next 15-20 years.
Yeah.
Thinking through that. So it's the sum total of everything is what I mean by product. Thinking through. So let's say to make a great product, you need 100 right decisions. Some get 30 right, some get 40 right, some get 50 right. Maybe Assetz gets 70-80 right. I know that's for it becomes a product and design sort of driven company. So product is something one has to focus on. That is 50%.
But does an average layman understand the project even? Like from its true design sense, why was it designed like that? Or is it up to the salespeople who themselves should know the product well enough and explain it well enough to them?
So I think today buyer is very smart. They live in a house and they compare their living with the living which is shown to them for future. So salespeople also do their job of explaining it, but it has to be felt rather than explained. I'll give you an example. You take any average SUV. I'll not name a brand, but let's say a SUV costing 15-20 lakhs. Sit in that and take a drive versus sit in a Range Rover and take a drive. You'll feel better in Range Rover, right? Of course. No one has to explain you. So luxury has to be felt, not over-explained. And therefore, you have this concept of model units. So we put up our model units. Exact specification that will come through. We also try to put up the furniture layout there just to make people visualize how it can live. Right. Now, if someone comes in and sees between his living and kitchen is a dining can accommodate 8-seater table. It can also have a wall-to-wall crockery unit and still there is ample space around. You don't have to explain that, he'll feel it. Or can you put 30 shutters in the house of storage? Maybe 8 in the master bedroom, 5-6 in the guest bedroom, in the dining, in the living. Once someone sees, wow, this house has so much storage and still feels spacious. So every participant of the house, like a housewife or the lead or the parents or the children, will see their house in their own way and have discussion. Since people will do the talking, but they'll have to feel it. They'll have to feel the design. And the traction goes up. We'll see that in the conversion ratios, that how many people visited the site and how many people booked. If your conversion ratios are high, the product is resonating with the home buyer. So I feel 50% is look at the product. And the balance 50% is look at the way developer has delivered his claims in the past.
So past track record is equally important.
Simple. Go down to any developer's past project. At the gate, ask a resident, how was RW association handover? Was it smooth? Was it painful? Did he give support even after handover? That will explain a lot of intent. Technically, you don't have to go and evaluate building hai, see page hai, kya hai. That's a little difficult. But certain things. And then, of course, there are some very interesting online portals now. We are doing a very unbiased, independent review of developers in the projects. There are these portals and some of the startups who have come up who are now evaluating and reviewing these products, and these are not developer sponsored, more on behalf of the home buyers and giving ratings to the project, right, across parameters. So look at them also. So product and past track record. I think these are the main things one should look at as a home buyer and the developer.
So, Sunil, decades ago, right, the joke used to be, and I'm asking you this question specifically because you are a professional, right? So decades ago, there used to be this joke in real estate that if you're more educated, in real estate, the harder it is for you to do well, right? Do you see that changing today?
So 100% it has changed. So let's see why that perception or the myth was about real estate earlier. Say 20,000 crore was a market size, 1,000 players playing, 20 crore on an average is the size. This is including the bigger guys, its average is 20 crore. Now 20 crore was handled like a mom and pop shop, a Lala driven, a promoter driven. Lala is deciding product, he's buying the land, he's doing approvals. So his need and dependence on educated workforce was less. Even if he took some, he somehow used to feel he's an impediment. He's slowing down the process. Zyada dimag laga raha hai. Right? He used to be, I know everything. I'm one man, one show. I'm invincible sorts. So therefore, people found it difficult to thrive in the real estate space those days. But come now, say on an average 1 lakh crore market size, 200 developers, we're talking of 500 plus crore on an average. But if you take the larger ones, we're talking of 2,000-3,000 crore size. Now that scale and that size, which is further growing, cannot be handled the way it was handled earlier. There still may be a promoter today. I would say 80% of the businesses in real estate are still promoter driven. But the promoter has realized he needs a workforce to maintain things. Second, capital requirements have gone up. To raise capital, some are forced to remodel themselves to appear a little more professional, more governance and institutional driven. So therefore, the need for qualified professionals are increasing. These days you have a lot of these 40 under 40 or power list of 1,000 or, pick up those lists. You'll find all MBAs, architects, will be among almost 70-80% of them, and less of the street smart, high acumen, people. So therefore it has changed.
I also feel because structures coming in and, post consolidation and to scale for bigger companies, I think structure and scale.
It is making a difference. Now, how many companies have gone IPO?
Yeah.
How many REITs? Bangalore itself, 2 REITs are there and third one is on the way.
Right.
So I think it is no more an option. It is an advantage. But I would say killer combination will be educated with the acumen which the mom and pop guy had 20 years back.
Right.
You have more of them around you. I think the chances of success will be much higher.
Right. Thank you so much, Sunil, for giving us your time. Before we part off, I would like to ask you one final question, and that is, what was that moment, that tipping point for Assetz, right? What was your best investment that kind of took you all where you all are today? Was there a tipping point, or was it like linear growth?
Wish I could say that there was a tipping point, or we were so intelligent that we bet on that land. And
so there's no specific moment. It was just you kept growing consistently in a linear fashion.
I think the mindset was to behave, structure like a platform, even though there was no scale.
Right.
So the approach was never to be a project by project company. Approach was always to be a platform type company. Building systems, manpower, setting up processes, technology, etc. way ahead of time. It may be inefficient. It does cost a lot of money and time and patience. But the institutional memory it created, that when the scale came through, be easily absorbed and ready for the next scale. So I think if you ask me investment wise, that mindset of building a platform way ahead of the scale, that is one of the key success story for us.
Right. Thank you so much for your time, and I had a great time, absorbing. There's so much to absorb about, scale, doing in the nice corporate way, And of course, Bangalore is a great city to live in. So,
My pleasure, man.
had a
Thank you
great
so
time.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.